Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers podcast.
What number is it?
Oh, wait. 18.
18.
Yeah. Which brings us to our point, dear hot dogs. 18 is the number of this WacArnold's Brothers podcast.
Yeah.
Which is 2 away from the big 2-0.
Yeah, we have a nice little well, we hope you guys will think it's cool, a nice little idea for number 20 to kind of bring it full circle what we've been doing, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. But we'll save that. Teaser for number 20. But at this episode, you've clearly noted that we're watching a Hostel movie. If you read the title,
but not a good one.
but not the good one. So I was just about to drop it, but I remember very distinctly watching the first Hostel movie from Josh Mantar Vines' collection. Like he had it. That dude had like an epic movie collection that like
for sure.
I was able to just like, because my parents wouldn't let me get any of the good stuff. So I was able to go through and just like use it as like a checkout library sometimes. I'd go get like 2 or 3, stock up for the weekend, and then like go watch them and then bring them back on Monday,
Yeah.
But yeah, Hostel was one of them that he had. And I remember very distinctly watching it for that first time and being like, like it was fucking gnarly.
It is gnarly, but we keep saying what you were going to say, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
The second one, I recall a bit more. Do you recall the second one? Like,
honestly, I think I like the second one better. Like, I don't know. It's a tough one to call. Like, obviously that type of movie isn't for everybody, but for what it is, I thought it was like a really creative concept.
Totally. Totally.
And I like Eli Roth. So.
Oh, dude, I love Eli Roth, and I love that Eli Roth is a big horror nerd. Like, one of the series on Shudder I want to dig into is that like history of horror that he's kind of put together.
It's fantastic. There's a new season coming out soon too.
Nice.
But unfortunately for Hostel 3, there is no Eli Roth involvement. I love how we stumbled upon this because until this last weekend, I had no idea that there was a fucking like direct to DVD third installment. You know what I mean?
I didn't even look that up. This was a direct to DVD.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Of course it was.
And so, like, not only has it no Eli Roth involvement, but it's direct to DVD. But the one thing it has, like, going for it is that I was reading up is that it's directed by this guy named Scott Spiegel.
Yeah.
Who was he was an executive producer on the first 2. And here's a little interesting tidbit about this guy. He wrote the he wrote the screenplay for Evil Dead 2.
Oh.
And before that, before the first Evil Dead was made, he was friends with Sam Raimi, and or Sam Raimi. I don't know why I pronounced it Raimi.
That's only if there's 2 of them.
He was friends with Sam Raimi, and before he did Evil Dead, he did a movie called I forget, it's like Into the Woods or whatever, which was like the precursor.
Oh yeah.
To Evil Dead, and he played a role in that movie. So like he's
kind of got some deep roots.
Yeah,
it seems like a little bit there.
Yeah,
that's actually super interesting, man. And yeah,
or Within the Woods is what it's called.
Yeah, and that was kind of like is what helped catch Evil Dead, like, or get them to a chance to make Evil Dead and whatnot, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, I guess I never realized. I had heard that name, and I heard that when I saw it pop up in the credits that it was a different director. Like I figured this wasn't Eli Roth, and you can tell later in the movie it's not Eli Roth. But it's interesting that cat has like some kind of history like that, and then just kind of jumps in sort of willy-nilly. It seems like I wonder if he's got any other like direct. Well, like I wonder if he's got any other directing credits. Like maybe he just picks up like the third installments of random movies. Like I can.
Well, so get this. He directed Dusk Till Dawn 2, which was a direct to DVD as well, and is a pretty shitty movie. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's like the direct to DVD go to.
Yeah.
Oh.
He swoops in to continue a franchise that didn't necessarily need continued.
Not that we, Spiegelman's the focus here, but just quick tidbit about him. Also, I just looked up. He apparently had a bit part in Spider-Man 2. He was there's this shot, I'm sure you recall it, like where Spider-Man drops, he's like delivering pizza at the beginning of, it's not Spider-Man, it's Peter Parker. He's delivering pizza, but he leaves it on like a rooftop at one point, and there's this dude who snags a slice out of it.
Oh no shit!
Apparently that's him.
Because like obviously people remember that part for he stole that guy's pizzas.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
It's just so random.
He's the guy that just tries to take the slice out.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man whips the slice back.
Yeah. Yep, that's amazing. That's great. That's fucking awesome.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, but
anyways,
that's awesome. But we got to talk about Hostel 3, which is kind of on the different spectrum here, end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I love that it starts out with this the kind of classic Hostel vibe where you think, all right, young teenage or maybe early 20s or whatever guy staying at like a weird foreign hotel or something like that for the first time, or it seems like.
Yeah, that's what it seems like I agree.
And so
because he's like walking through the halls and there's some like she looks like she might be a prostitute.
Lady of the night.
Yeah, and he like makes some comment about her ass or something like that.
Yeah, and then he goes to unlock his like hotel or motel room door or whatever,
or maybe it's a hostel. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's a hostel. Yeah, and he walks right in, and then there's already two people in the room that he's supposed to be in, which immediately is like.
Yeah. It's like this Ukrainian couple that you're like, what the hell? Like, okay, so here we go. So,
Anka and something.
Anka and Victor, but don't you think that if I walked into a fucking hotel room and there was two other people there and it was supposed to be my room, like, I would just like leave. I wouldn't like, come in and like set my things down. But
yeah,
obviously we learned soon it's a swerve, but
yes, it's quite the setup though, man, because you think because it's a Hostel movie, you think where the scene's going for sure,
which we both agreed on when we we watched probably like the first 30 minutes together this weekend, and then we fell asleep, but I totally thought we had this part pegged.
Yeah, and then immediately it takes that turn where it turns out this like American boy here maybe spiked his beverages, his beers that he's sharing with these two.
Yeah, there's a quick scene where the Ukrainian guy's like, "Have a drink, bro," or whatever, like, which is that's not what he sounds like. I apologize. I shouldn't have done that.
But Victor and whatever the fuck is this
Anka,
like they're clearly into having a good time or whatever. So they anyway, so Anka goes off to the shower after like they kind of each have like a bit of a sip of this
beer,
and then like quick, that's when like the scene starts turning, right? Is like she goes over there, Victor catches the boy eyeing Anka as she goes into the shower or whatever, and then you hear like a thud while she's in there, and Victor goes in to check on her and starts freaking out, and the kid just doesn't do shit. Like he just stands there like
he's like, Call the police.
Yeah. What the hell are you doing?
Like, that's right.
I think she's it's and then it turns like then Victor falls and starts like having troubles like breathing or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. He kind of looks like he's just like slowly. I mean, it looks like he's just been fucking. They've been drugged really, and the guy. I still can't.
His name's Travis.
Travis. So Travis in this scene like quickly turns and he doesn't help either of them. He just kind of stands there and watches them like both pass out. And then he and then that's when you find out that he's kind of the villain. Like he's the bad guy.
Exactly.
Collecting bodies for this hunting club that's been
elite hunting club. Yeah.
The elite hunting club.
I thought that shot was cool though, where it's like a trap door in the mirror, and like these two, big muscle-bound men come in to take them away, and bring them to their demise. Like,
yeah, that
but
was
yeah,
actually really cool.
that's the opening scene. Yeah, yeah.
But then they quickly,
and then we get this like cheesy opening credit scene, which like
like a little drive through Vegas kind of action. You see some neon lights, that.
Well, I guess before that though, we meet the next scene is like Scott and Amy, and they're like kissing on the porch, and turns out Scott's about to get engaged to her, and his buddy Carter picks him up, and they make a quick line about Carter makes a line to Amy about something. She's like, you had your chance before. So there's like, there's like some past between these two. But either way, Carter and Scott start heading to Vegas, And
I want to point out, all three of these people seem like douchebags already.
Yeah.
But Carter particularly stands out. And I think, like not only is it his dialogue, he has like those douchey, like sunglasses on, and like,
no, he's a douche.
He's like grade A douche. And so,
pretty much the old, like, because they quickly go to Vegas and they meet up with two other lads. We got Justin and Mike, and I noticed the only two people here that I noticed in this movie that I've seen in other things are Mike, who is apparently like a comedian of some sort.
Okay.
And then the character that plays Justin, the one with like the arm crutch. He was in Nip Tuck for multiple seasons.
I recognized him from that too. Yeah, I was like, I really haven't seen that dude pop up in anything else on my radar.
No.
At least. And yeah, so like they all meet up there, with the boys. Well,
before
there's that scene where you find out kind of where Victor and Anka were taken almost, and
right.
And you see those, a couple of big burly dudes come into the scene where like, these two are in cages. They wake up with these collars on, and they go in and like grab Anka and like drag her off while Victor's like, "Fuck you, come here, come get me."
He's like, "Come get me." What the fuck?
Yeah. Victor's fucking aggressive, man.
Yes, he is. But I mean, wouldn't you be though? Like,
oh, for sure.
You just wake up and they're taking your fucking wife away. Like, I'd be aggressive too. But yeah.
And it comes out later, but yeah. So he meets up with this guy, and you're right, Mike. I kept mistaking Mike for the guy that plays Wash on Firefly. Because you'd see these like quick side shots and they look like they had like the same like hairstyle.
I know what you're talking about, but the Mike guy might be like one of the bigger because he keeps making all these stupid like bro worst jokes. You know what I mean? Like you just want to slap the piss out of this guy.
Yeah. He also there's a scene where they're at a blackjack table and the dealer switches and it becomes this Asian man, and he like makes this comment where he's like this really racist like derogatory comment, and then like kind of like looks the guy down as they're leaving and stuff, and it was just super fucking weird. It was like the thing is that I was noticing early on, they don't really make you like any of these characters.
No,
except for maybe like Justin. Justin has some redeeming qualities. I wouldn't say he's like super like, he's not the asshole of the group, but like everybody else in this group so far is kind of asshole-ish in a way.
They don't even try to make you like Scott, because like we learned in a little bit that like he's like cheated on his wife. Yeah, but like you said, they pretty much make everybody out like a douchebag.
Which makes,
I forgot to I forgot to mention, we were laughing so hard. So there's this like shot as they're walking into the casino of like a girl on a pole, and it like does a close up of her ass bouncing up and down and forth, and then like 2 minutes later, randomly for no reason, it does like another like 15-second clip of it. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's just this random lady trying to like clap her cheeks or whatever, and she's and you're right, dude, it like cuts away for some other stuff and then just cuts right back for no.
It made no sense.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah.
But yeah, so these four like quickly they
meet Kendra and Nikki.
Yeah, who like they're like kind of eyeing them from afar. So you kind of think that there might be something sinister going on with these two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that again, like with going into this Hostel movie being the third installment, you kind of look at everything like, is this the trap? Is this a trap? Is this a trap?
Right. That's exactly true.
And that was definitely one of them, because like they show these shots of those two ladies like kind of like looking at him and just keep continuing to look at him, and you're just like, why the fuck are they staring him down? These guys don't look special.
Right.
Like, anyway, so they meet up with them, and then that's when they kind of take a cab ride, I believe, right?
Yeah, because the girls, talk about they have this place they could go off the strip, but only if they like freaky. Which they emphasize, like, you guys like freaky? Yeah, we like freaky. Okay,
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they catch a cab to like this like desolate like part of town where nobody's at. And not only that, but the cab driver's creepy. Like that'd be a red flag. There's like no one in this back alley. They just go to this random door that has no indication of this place being like a club or whatever.
Yeah. It's like this like old like warehouse district or something.
Yeah.
And like the cabbie has like a meter that doesn't fucking work or whatever. And he just, it's a super strange like build up. But it's like they get dropped off, and then they kind of knock on that nondescript door, and the door guy answers, and he's just like, you on the list. Like,
Yeah.
And
they're like, well, we know Kendra and Nikki. Yeah. They're like, oh, he's like, oh, come on in.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it means you're gonna have a nice time.
That's right. And then like they come in and they try to, like they're walking down this creepy corridor, and then Scott answers his phone to speak to Amy and gets separated. And this is where you think maybe something, something bad's gonna happen. And initially that's what you think, because Scott gets like grabbed by someone and thrown into a chair and tied down, and they start shoving like a hose into his throat. And you're like, holy shit, is this guy gonna get like iced already?
Exactly.
But then I thought it was like a little too quick to kill this character off, but it was kind of like a bait and switch.
Yeah, because they pull him in, and turns out it's like a beer bong, basically.
Yeah.
Although the bottle they look like they're pouring in there looks like straight fucking liquor.
Yeah.
I was like, that unfortunate son of a bitch. But anyway,
yeah, it was like an elaborate setup by all his buddies. You know what I mean?
To like bring him into his actual bachelor party.
And then there's like naked women like dancing on him immediately.
Yeah, it's like immediately he gets unveiled. There's like some lady in a thong just like grinding up on him, and like somebody shoves another shot into his fucking mouth, and like he's just sitting there going like, freaking out, being like, I'm gonna kill you guys, and like all that shit. At one point, it's so super funny. I noted this. There is this like these two strippers on top of him, and at one point, there's just like this quick shot of one stripper grabbing another stripper's titty.
Yeah.
I was like, why was that?
I know. It was unnecessary. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, because they have to set up this like, yeah, exactly. It's like they have to set up this like bachelor part. I get it.
Yeah. And so you kind of find out that like. Kendra and Nikki they're not necessarily escorts or anything.
We don't learn that part out yet.
Oh, well, I guess you're right. Yeah, because they're
well, I guess you kind of do.
Well, they kind of. I mean, I guess they're kind of talking, but
because one of them gives a card to another one that like because that's right. So because we see Kendra and Scott, they go up to a room, and then we see Nikki and Mike are going to go, but Nikki gives a card to Justin and makes a line like, your buddy might not last long or whatever, so give me a call or something.
Yeah. Well, because he keeps striking out, and he had this line because he has it's a crutch, and he's like, He's like, this pole stays hard all night, baby.
Oh, yeah. Because, like it's like a random scene where like a girl approaches him and is like going to hit on him. And then he turns around and she sees the crutch and she's like, oh, never mind, or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Such an early 2000s cringe. Like, and that's the thing. You can tell what time period this
it does. Yeah, it does have that cringe. Yeah.
So you're right. It's Kendra and Scott are up in like a room. I presume somebody is.
Yeah.
And that's when you find out that Scott has trepidations about cheating on his wife
Right.
again.
Kendra just like instantly hops on him and starts kissing him and trying to like.
Yeah.
And this is where we learn because she makes a line like, "Well, you had me for an hour, so."
Yeah. I just love that. I love Scott's line of like, "Well, I was unfaithful with my wife or my fiance last year."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oof."
Yeah. So he explains that he's been unfaithful in the past and doesn't want to be again. So.
Yeah. And so it's now it's like the four of them in the room, like you were saying earlier. Mike and
Nikki make their way in, yeah.
And they're all kind of having a good time. They leave Mike and Nikki, and that's when Scott kind of like has some sort of like issue, and so he stumbles out the hallway outside, and he just fucking starts vomiting in this barrel out front. And that's when he sees the creepy cab guy there still, just like. And he gets locked out of the building, correct?
Yeah, he's trying to make his way back in, and like you see this shot where the cab driver's walking closer, and Scott's kind of like fading in and out of consciousness, and and this is they've done this a couple times now, where you think something sinister is about to happen, and it hasn't happened yet, which I will give them credit for. They kind of like bait you into it for a little bit until it actually happens, because you think that like it's going to be Scott waking up in
those cages or something,
Yeah, but not yet. He passes out, and then he wakes up in the next morning, and he's in his hotel room. And
between that though, it does show this van like going to this like big building, and
right,
and like
that's true.
And you see like that's the next time, the second time you see like somebody with a tattoo. I couldn't make out at first like what the design was, but they all have these like tattoos.
Right.
Anyway, so then you find out, that Scott just is back at his hotel room or whatever.
Yeah, he wakes up in his hotel room, and Justin and Carter are there, but not Mike. Yeah. And at first they kind of play it off to he's probably still with Nikki or whatever, but. Yeah. We as viewers kind of quickly learn, Mike's fate. Yeah,
because they kind of call and they leave voicemails and stuff, and then it, you cut to seeing him wake up in a cage. He's got like a collar around his neck, and he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
he has this line. He's out of nowhere. He's like, he says like. You can't figure out where he's at, but he's like, I know I ate some pussy, but what?
Oh God, yeah. He just says the douchiest lines, like,
that's what I mean. It's like all building up to it. Like even with him like trapped in the cage, you're sort of just like, I don't know. Like this guy's kind of a fucking ass.
Like I don't care if he dies. You know what I mean?
And so the big burly dudes come back in and drag him out, same as they did Anka in the earlier, but this time you follow them. With Mike.
You see what happens, yeah.
And he basically they drag him down the hallway and they bring him to this room with all these different devices in it, and they put him in this chair that straps him down.
Yeah, and this is what I like, where they don't really introduce any of the people, but they introduce like the group of these hunting club that's watching, and they're placing bets on different scenarios that might play out or what weapons might get used.
Yeah. They're using this like online thing or digital thing called the Wheel of Misfortune.
Yeah.
And it's like it's kind of an interesting weird concept, but like that's it's also funny to kind of continue to know that this is like just supposed to be somewhere in Las Vegas, like
right
out there in the desert. So this is like the first and only movie, I guess, actually where they've like this became like a I think the other two movies were both placed in Europe or like parts of Eurasia. This movie is straight in like America. So
for some reason they moved it to Vegas, with no explanation. But yeah.
So as you see, like as you mentioned, there's like a bunch of people betting on stuff, and then this dude in a white lab coat kind of comes in, and Mike's like screaming and shit, and he kind of like puts you don't know what he's doing, but he like with no words just kind of goes and like drapes this like blanket over the front of Mike, and then he starts, what does he do? Then he starts like marking up his face, right?
Yeah, he puts like an outline around his face with the mask.
And that's when you note that, like, that's when you, as a viewer, you're just like, okay, dude, this dude's like gonna
He's
get his
fucked. Yeah.
fucking face, like something's gonna happen to his fucking face. And so I think at first he gets teased with like, oh, the drill, dude.
Yeah.
Teased with the drill, and the dude's like fucking with him. He's like getting in his face a little bit with it, like, and then he just puts that away and grabs his scalpel
because Mike accidentally like some like spit out flies out of his mouth and hits the guy in the face, and it like pisses him off.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. And then he goes and grabs like a gag or whatever and like shoves it in his mouth.
Yeah.
And that's when the drill comes into play. And then he does the
like he grabs the scalpel, but I love the part where like he sets the drill down and grabs the scalpel, and there's a guy watching that like angrily shatters his cup because he had bet money on the drill or whatever, and he's gonna lose his money.
Exactly. And that was like such a interesting dynamic to this scene, just seeing like that. And then you know, like the doctor-esque guy takes the scalpel and just starts cutting Mike's fucking face, like, and he just straight peels his fucking face off. It was gnarly, actually.
That'd be brutal.
And then he like places it on this like, you know, fake foam head that he had brought out also.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It was so nasty.
Just shows it to the crowd and they all just go ape shit. You know what I mean?
And honestly, this to me was the most gruesome death of the movie for sure.
Yeah.
Which was interesting that it came right out the gate with it.
Yeah.
Just Hannibal Lecter's the motherfucker, and then it cuts to like the other three boys again at like a bar or something, trying to figure out where the fuck Mike's been.
Yeah, because they still haven't heard from him at this point, and this is when they're maybe starting to get a little more worried.
Yeah, and that's when they kind of try and recontact the girls from the previous night. I think Nikki and Kendra.
Yeah, because one of them has Nikki's card, and Justin makes this line of like, "Well, all we have is her email, but you know, I can cyber stalk her so we can, you know, figure out where she lives." And so,
and they do.
Yeah.
And so they drive to like the Shangri-La trailer park, where there's this like, there's this cut shot of like a big bald dude looking angrily through a window, and
yeah.
he's just like menacingly staring them down, and you're just like, okay. But then they show up. They go to presumably Nikki's house, and they end up breaking in because she is not there.
Yeah, they like rummage around her stuff, maybe thinking that they're there, but they're not there.
Did you note that there's this there's like a quick shot of like a cockroach crawling in the trailer?
Yeah, what was that? What was
because I think
I guess it like makes like it's like a precursor to what happens to her.
I guess that's all I could make of it. I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, so they're like investigating around, and that's when big bald guy and Kendra bust the fuck in, and like you know, at gunpoint are like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? What'd you do with Nikki?" You know?
Yeah. She's like, she thinks that you know, Mike might have done something, you know, to her, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when you find out that, you know, that's when essentially these groups will combine and sort of like start the hunt for everybody else. But dude,
minus the big burly guy, he doesn't come along. Yeah.
Unfortunately, although they could have probably used his help.
Yes, because Kendra also, like, they mentioned that like they haven't seen Mike, and then Kendra also says something like, "Well, she didn't come home last night either."
Yeah. And then it cuts to a shot of that Travis guy, and he's like sifting through after they kind of, you know, that whole scene, they it shows him and shows where Nikki's at.
Right.
He's like kind of sifting through some clothes, and he picks out this really cheesy looking cheerleader outfit. and like you know, creepily it goes and shows Nikki's strapped down to this like gurney or whatever, and he puts the cheerleading outfit on. And then it shows the two big burly guard dudes that have been, you know, escorting people out of cages. One guy walks up and like sniffs her or whatever. He's like,
yeah, it was really weird.
Fucking bizarre, dude. And anyway, so then then, you know, clearly Nikki is the next victim. They
Yes.
bring her to the torture chamber of sorts.
Yes.
And this one's strange. This one was just like bizarre because at first you just have no fucking clue what's going on. So like she's strapped down into this big table thing and there's this dude who's like squirting like liquid all over her and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. It's true.
At first I was like, is it acid? Is it going to start like melting her flesh or something? Then I was like, no, it's in a plastic bottle. And so then you see like the dude start digging around a tank full of like all cockroaches or something.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I don't know, it was just like this one like again was just like this one kind of like was lackluster to me, this kill, but
I completely 100% agree. They could have definitely thought of something better.
It felt like a combination of a Fear Factor challenge and like a concept from The Mummy. so the dude lays the table down and then just starts like putting all these cockroaches all on Nikki, and there's a shot of them just like all going down her mouth or whatever, like
yeah, like what the fuck. Yeah, and, like so they essentially choke her to death.
Yeah, exactly. It was just such a like, I don't know, it just for like a Hostel kill, I was like, this was so unbloody, ungory, just not scary.
Yeah.
That much. The most intimidating thing was just like the menacing dude. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially after, like you said, the first one where like they kind of set the stakes too high with like the guy's face getting cut off. Cause I think no matter what this one was, it was going to be lackluster, but that was like the worst like Hostel kill ever.
I kind of agree. I was just like, that's not what I want out of what this shot. But then, so ultimately, you after Nikki's demise, it kind of goes back to the crew now, where it's the three guys, Justin, Scott, and Carter, and then Kendra.
Yeah, and they're kind of trying to figure out, what they should do. And I like how at first she's still like inquisitive about Mike. And I like how they had to throw this line in because she makes a line about maybe he's not really who you think he is. And then she goes, well, yeah, because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Like they had to fucking throw that line in. But anyway.
Every time there's a Vegas movie somewhere, so I feel like it always gets slid in.
Because they have, like, Carter wants to go investigate the place from the night before. Mm-hmm. Justin wants to call the cops. So they're kind of split on what to do, but they end up going back to investigate the place from the night before. And as they're going out, they get a text. Because, like, right before that, you see a scene of Travis with, like, Nikki's dead body, and he's making all these creepy comments about how she's dead sexy. But he also takes a picture.
He takes a cockroach off of her and smashes it.
Yeah, but yeah, so he ends up taking a picture of her, which we quickly learn that he used Mike's phone to text Justin, because right as they're getting out of the car to investigate the compound, they get this text. Apparently it's from Mike, and it's saying, that him and Nikki are at a hotel room, and sorry that he basically crashed all day, and that they're together, and that they should come, they need to come, and they give like directions with a picture of where they're at, essentially.
Yeah. And I love that, like, in classic text response to that, you see Justin texting where, and then just like letter R and U. I was like, texting's so hip now. Anyway, so they go back, they go to the address that they're given, right?
Yeah.
And it's like another hotel or something. I think it looks like the room kind of looks like the same hotel as before.
Because Justin stays in the car, but as they're walking up to the hotel, you learn the name of the hotel is called Hostel, which might be like the only one of the only ties to this movie. Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, and that's when, like, so if Justin stays in the car, the others go in there, and Justin sees like a van, and like goes and investigates it, like kind of like some dudes like moving some stuff around a van or whatever.
But before that happens, though, they go into the room. and they see a note from Mike saying something like,
God, yeah, you're right.
like we stepped out to grab a beer. Oh no, it says stepped out, grab a beer and chill. But like it shows Victor looking into a mirror, and like you said, it kind of looked like the room from the beginning of the movie a little bit. And we quickly learned that it was, because Victor's looking through the mirror and suddenly a guy busts in with like a gas mask and starts spraying gas, and then someone comes in the front entrance, and so they're basically all screwed. And then like you said, they're getting loaded into the back of the van, and Justin kind of sees that and goes to investigate.
That's what it was. I was like, yeah, they're loading his friends into the fucking van. Yeah, and then that's when you have like a little skirmish between Justin and Travis.
Yeah.
And I thought, and then Justin gets thrown in the van. Then they all wake up in cages.
Yeah, essentially, yes. That's what happens. Yeah.
But really, what you follow at first is, I believe, Justin wakes up, and he like sees there's this like interaction between him and Victor across the cages, and and then Scott's like there, and and then the two burly dudes come in and they grab Justin, and
right before they grab him, Victor's like, when it's your turn, they'll come for you. And then sure enough, yeah, they come and
they're here.
Yeah. They come and grab Justin and wheel him out of there, essentially.
Yeah. But that's not the only thing that happens in this scene.
Yeah.
Another twist happens in this scene.
Yeah, and it's a good one. It's a pretty as far as the movie goes, this is like the best twist probably.
For sure. So fucking Sean and Carter wake up in the same cell, basically.
Scott
and
Carter.
Sean.
Yeah.
I don't know where Sean came from. Scott and Carter wake up in the same cell, and then like one of those big burly guards, after Justin's dragged out, turns around and opens the cage, shoves Scott to the back wall, and lets Carter just right out the cage.
Because Carter's like, hey, I have a tattoo.
Yeah, he has one of those and you find out it's like the logo or whatever of this group is like a basset hound or something.
Yeah, the Elite Hunting Club. Yeah, he's got one of the tattoos, and as they're like taking him away, Scott's trying to ask what's going on, and Carter goes, "It's a club, and it means members only."
Good God. Yeah, and that's when so then you kind of follow Carter. Carter has a meeting.
Yes.
With Travis, and what's the name of the guy with the scar?
So I don't think it really says his name, but it's Fleming.
I didn't think it did either. I wonder, like, some of these characters are supposedly from the other Hostel movies.
Yeah,
and I wonder
his
if
name's
he's one
Fleming.
Of those.
Yeah.
So Fleming, who looks like a knockoff Liam Neeson.
Yeah. with this scar on his face,
Yeah. And so it seems like they're the kind of two that are really running this racket.
Yeah, Fleming and Travis for sure.
And that's when you find out that Carter has kind of organized a little bit of this, and like the guys are, that Fleming is, talking about how this is kind of like an inconvenience, and kind of, all this stuff. So you can tell he doesn't really like Carter,
Right, because he also explains that he, like you said, he mentions that there's been some inconveniences and with Victor's request, and that Fleming's like, well, the females will make up for the added expense, and your friends are collateral damage.
Your friends are collateral damage.
And Victor has this kind of cold line where he's like cool with it, and he's like, well, there were more. Carter, sorry. He's like, there were more Scott's friends than mine,
Dude doesn't give a fuck. He got successful, and he was like, I don't give a fuck about these guys.
Right.
Yeah, and so that meeting doesn't really go too well, it seems like, for Carter. It kind of like, it's whatever. It cuts to, it just seems like there's this interesting tension there that gets built.
Yeah.
And you're sort of like, you're sort of like, I wonder if that's going to come around later. But then it does. It does.
But anyway, it cuts to
Justin's fate, I suppose.
Yes.
Which was, again, sort of like, I don't know. I don't want to preface it as lackluster, but it just wasn't like terrifying. The most terrifying, cool thing about this was the costume that was involved in this scene.
Yeah, it's better than the cockroach one, but it's still a little anticlimactic. But
yeah, so somebody like pulls this lever. You see Justin strapped to the chair in the middle of the room, and somebody pulls this lever and lets a bunch of like fog in, and that's when you enter this character. I don't know, this character who's dressed in like a black leather outfit from head to toe and has this wild mask on.
Yeah, it's like a cult, kind of like, it looks like a mask that would be like a cult would wear, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's this really like interesting headpiece.
It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like this green, and it kind of looks like the texture of like a tree, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
and it almost looks like it has like kind of branchy, small branches or antlers kind of coming out the top.
Yeah,
almost.
there you go.
But this person kind of like is like circling Justin, and then pulls out like a crossbow, I believe, and just start, and like, you know, every now and then just takes like a pot shot at him and like just shoots him with an arrow. And just like fucking with the dude. And then like there's this shot. I love that there's this one shot where like kind of it progresses. At first you kind of see these shots of Justin with a couple arrows in him, and then he shows a shot where he has like, I don't know, 5 or 6 arrows in him. And like one of them's straight in his dick, and you're just like this asshole. Like, not only are you shooting the dude, like killing him to death, it's like just like you have to shoot him in the dick. Come on, like
yeah.
But like
I guess so.
But then like, you know, the person in the mask gets like right up in his face and holds the crossbow like right under his chin, and in this really menacing way. You know what's gonna happen as a viewer.
Yeah.
But right, you know, just this like really tense kind of moment, and then just. And like it just like shoots an arrow straight through Justin's fucking head.
Like right, like the last one's gnarly, like up through his fucking like bottom of his mouth and through the top of his head. And then we learn here, like, I wish they would have done more emphasis on this throughout the movie, where I mentioned one of the cool things is how there's people betting on like the outcomes of what's going to happen, because you hear like a female voice go, 9 arrows to this person and this person. So like whoever bet on the amount of arrows that the person would use to kill him, you know, won this like pool of money, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really wish they would have like done a little more focus on that, because that was like one of the most intriguing aspects of this movie.
Right. So quickly after right after Justin dies, it shows Victor, who's been watching the whole thing and like isn't affected by it at all. And he kind of has this line where he's like, "It's showtime."
Oh God. It's showtime.
We're like,
yeah,
we're like, huh?
Carter is just like a complete fucking douche. Like from the moment you meet him till like this point in the movie, asshole, like across the board. But then yeah, that kind of leads to Scott. They come back to visit Scott. Scott has like a conversation with Victor in the cell.
Yeah, because Victor's pissed, and he's talking about, you know, Anka was my wife and all this, and Scott. So Victor has a pretty cool line here, because Scott mentions that he's about to get married, and Victor was like, well, at least it wasn't last week. And he's like, what are you talking about? And Victor's like, because your wife would be a widow now.
Oh. Drops a bomb on him.
Like you said, they come in, they get Scott, and they dress him up in a tuxedo, and one of the guys like to your honeymoon. And Scott. And Scott goes and gets strapped into the chair too, you know. Now it's like his time. And then it's announced over the PA, you know, that, all right, guys, this is the main event, and this is a very special kill.
A very special kill. Yeah, dude. And so there's like, you know, a variety of things in this room. It shows some power tools. It shows a chainsaw, you know, that, and then enters in Carter, who, you know, this is his big reveal, basically. Like,
yeah.
Like, he's like, yes, I've masterminded this whole fucking thing. As you know, he pulls out this set of expensive German kitchen knives, which I'm pretty sure I used to have that same set, honestly. And he pulls it out, and he was like, this was on Amy's like a list of things, whatever.
Wedding registry. Yeah.
Wedding registry. That's it. Just like, which is like, fuck you, dude. But then he just like kind of spills his bit. He sort of talks about how he just sort of like he hit, like, he kind of references like almost like hitting a certain level like of status, and then all of a sudden like he has like, I don't know,
because
it's just weird.
He explains that he's the one that told Amy about Scott's infidelities, and that he thought that she would leave Scott at that point. So basically this whole thing is set up because he wants Amy, and the only way he's going to get Amy, he's going to get rid of Scott, and then he's going to be there to console her and have her for himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's basically like the most fucked up vindictive plot ever.
Yeah.
To like steal your fucking supposed friend's wife. Like, this guy is twisted.
Yeah. And what I love next, though, it was such a brilliant move, was, as we noted earlier, there was some clear dislike coming from Travis and Fleming towards Carter. And so as Carter's going on this rant and all this shit, and he goes to like pick up this chainsaw.
Oh, then he has one of the best lines here. Before you say what you're going to say, sorry, he has one of the best lines here. So, Scott says something about like, well, why would you do this to your friend? And Carter goes, when it comes to pussy, I have no friends. Oh, fuck. So over the top, like, wow.
Fucking crazy.
But yeah, like you said, so he starts carving up the chainsaw, but then what happens?
But then the people that control the torture room or whatever unleash Scott from his straps.
Yeah, it's awesome. They call an audible. They're like, set him free.
Yeah, which I fucking loved, because like for these other people in the audience, they don't give a fuck about either of these two dudes. They just want to see somebody die.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this chainsaw Scott runs and like picks up a sword that's laying around, and it becomes this like chainsaw versus sword duel, which is like,
yeah,
kind of
people are going ape shit.
Dude, it was fucking nutty. And at one point, Scott at one point uses his sword to get the chainsaw to out of Carter's hand, and it flies across the room, and then Carter picks up a fucking mace and like goes at him.
I know, I love the mace. I love when he like, after he gets out of the room too, he still has the mace.
Yeah. but in this really like kind of like moment, Scott, he gets the better of Carter with one of the German kitchen knives, and then like, yeah, you show him like he's like stabs him a couple of times, and then he shows him doing something, and then you find out that he's carved the tattoo off of his arm and uses it to get
pretty
out of
crafty.
Room. Yeah.
Pretty crafty, because he gets out of the room, and then this is where Scott, like, Travis and Fleming initially are like, go hunt them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're like, like 2 prisoners have escaped. Sound the alarm.
Well, that doesn't happen just quite yet. Or I guess it kind of does.
In between all this, yeah, because that happens, and then like Victor has like a moment during like this whole kind of sequence where,
because this is
he makes this big kerfuffle, and he lures one of the guards to his cell, and the guard tries to like stick his taser in, and Victor grabs it and tases his ass instead, and then gets out of his fucking cell.
And then I like how he just brutally kills the guard, like shoves it into his mouth and fucking just destroys this guy.
Yeah, he just torches him with the fucking taser right in his mouth. And then and then Scott kills another guard with the mace, but then the mace breaks. Yeah, what a weak ass mace.
And so this is when Travis hears about the 2 guys loose and tells Fleming, and then this time Fleming, like, he sounds the alarm, and he basically says, we've got 2 guys loose, like, we need to deal with this.
Yeah. And that's when the big burly dudes start coming out, and they're running. There's a sequence where you follow Victor for a bit as he's kind of trying to like make his escape or whatever, and he at one point grabs a fucking axe and like
yeah, like why was the axe just there in like a glass?
I don't know, man. They're really like hedging some bets that nobody's planning on escaping this place. So.
True, but yeah, like you said, he grabs an axe.
And he has a confrontation with one of the guards, which ends pretty epically, if you ask me. So
yeah,
like, you know, this dude Victor's just fucking hell bent on like killing some people at this point. I feel like because he's just like Anka's fucking dead. She earlier in the movie he was like she was my life, like you know. So the guard confronts him. He fucking axes the guard right at the same time as the guard shoots him in the fucking chest.
Yeah,
with a shotgun. And
it's a great shot.
It really was. It was a cool shot. And anyway,
it's probably like the coolest sequence in the movie. Like it looked real, but before that happened, it shows Victor and he's like, he cuts away at this pipe and turns off all the power into the whole place.
Yeah, that's.
And then like you said, he has the showdown with like the biggest, burliest fucking guard, and they both end up like dying like seconds apart from each other.
Yeah.
And then Scott kind of like finds this room with all the different belongings of all these people that have died over the, you know.
Yeah, over all, like supposedly all, I don't know.
Because there's like purses and clothes, and he's looking for his like cell phone in a box full of cell phones. And eventually he finds it. And we see Travis come in with the gun, and you can kind of hear the cell phone, and Travis makes his way over it thinking that Scott's going to be there, but Scott's not there anymore, but the phone is still there, and Travis hears the phone say, "The police are on the way." So this is when Fleming tells the guests, like, as a precaution, they will be escorted to their vehicles. Travis calls Fleming and explains that they've been compromised, and this is when Fleming is like, "Well, kill all the prisoners, no witnesses."
Yeah, dude, just fucking axe everybody, start fresh. And that's when you see that Scott finds, really shortly after that, a shotgun lying around.
He finds the shotgun that killed
Victor.
Yeah.
And just as another guard is about to kill Kendra, shoot Kendra, Scott like shotguns the motherfucker and helps Kendra escape.
Yeah, but she doesn't last long, because like as they're running away from behind, Travis shoots her and she falls. Scott keeps running, and then Travis walks up and does the death shot on her, just kills her.
Yeah, it was just such a quick axing for that character who's been around this.
Yeah, like especially after she just got let free.
Yeah, and
then we have this really cool scene where it shows Fleming hops into his SUV, but I was surprised at this part. But it makes sense though, because we see that Carter's in the back seat, and obviously he did this because in his eyes Fleming betrayed him. You know what I mean, with letting Scott free. But he literally just fucking stabs Fleming to death. Like he goes into overdrive. He just grabs this knife and just jars it into him like 20 something times. You just see blood flying over the windshield. Like it was gnarly.
It was like a fucking berserker rage. It was and right before that you see that the building, because they've been compromised, has been activated to blow up.
Of course it has.
Out of nowhere. It's like, oh, right.
Like, so, I wonder if they were doing research and they're like, let's see here. Oh, I got it. We could do, self-destruct mode, like.
Nobody will see it coming.
Yeah.
And then it goes to this epic confrontation between Scott and Travis.
Because he finds he finds Justin and Mike's dead bodies,
Yeah, he's just like, these people are responsible for like all my friends fucking dying now.
Yeah.
Him and Travis have like basically like a mini fucking duel that results in Scott hacking this fucking arm off in this really brutal
clip. Like, it's amazing. And then he just throws it into the furnace.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome.
Oh my god.
And then I love the way that he finishes them off though. He fucking beats him to death with Justin's crutch. Like that I will admit that was really cool.
Yeah. I was like, that was a great move, for his friend. But at the same time, you also see sort of simultaneously while this is happening, there's some more cuts of Carter making his escape because he takes Fleming's SUV And basically, there's a shot of Fleming rolling over, like he's still alive almost, right next to these like tire spikes or something.
Yeah, this part was cool too, where he puts them on the fucking spikes.
Yeah, and then runs him the fuck over on the
Yeah, it's brutal. Like that was clever because he goes to leave and he notices the spikes, and it was pretty clever putting the fucking dude's body over him.
Yeah, and then so there's this really quick close scene where Scott's running after him and he gets really close, but Carter locks him into the fucking compound.
Yeah.
And as he's driving away, like the building blows the fuck up, and you just
of course it does.
You're just like, all right, so like kaboom. God, it was just so random, dude. It's like
the explosion was just great. Like,
it was an action movie explosion in a Hostel movie. It was like so strange. It was.
I know we constantly talk about like how there's explosions in these shitty movies we watch, but like, did they really need to like? I guess they did to like get rid of all evidence, but yeah, the building just exploding, like you said, it was like a fucking awful action overdone sequence in a straight to DVD horror movie.
Yeah, and then and honestly, at that point, like I straight up was just like, all right, so Scott's fucking dead now too. So Carter wins. I was like, what?
Right.
And then
we quickly learn isn't the case, but I really, you know, there was all these different twists through the movie, but I really enjoyed this last like twist in the last end of the movie.
So satisfying.
Because like after, you know, Scott gets blown to shreds, we think, and Victor drives off, and then we instantly see Victor is with Amy and he's consoling her and he's holding her as she cries, and we don't know how like far in the future this is necessarily. It couldn't have been long, but she says like, I don't want to be alone tonight, you know. So
he's like, you won't be or whatever.
Yeah. So Victor in his mind is thinking like he's won, you know what I mean? And she mentions that she's gonna go get some champagne. So like, it's just great because
basically, it's
or wine. She goes to get a bottle of wine,
and I mean, there's this great sequence where like, you know, this great moment where you legitimately you think that like this is like everything Carter wanted is happening, and you know, then he starts kind of like he sits down, and that's when the surprise really fucking happens, right? Like he sits down at the table, and then, boom! Scott pops up behind him. And
Amy drives the fucking corkscrew through us. Like that would be gnarly because she makes some. I forget the line that she makes, but she just slams, and then we see Scott pop up.
Fucking hand is he's so bad.
Yeah, we see Scott pop up, and you can tell he's like badly burnt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then like scars on his fucking face. And then it cuts down, and it shows them in their basement, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's the garage. Maybe it's the garage. But either way, it's great.
And you know, like Carter is tied down. Amy's standing right next to him, and there's, you know, Scott's just like walking through all these tools, these yard tools, and these different devices, and you just know that Carter's about to get fucked up, dude.
It was great. It needed to happen.
Yeah,
because I like how I didn't know what he was gonna pick, but he probably ends up picking like the gnarliest one. It's one of those like, it's kind of hard. It's a tiller basically.
Yeah, like a rototiller.
Yeah, and if anyone knows, like that would just rip your fucking face to shreds, which happens.
Yeah. Oh my god, it just shows like blood splattering, and his hands are bound, and like shows that like twitching and stuff. You know, it was a good way to end the movie because like you said, I didn't think that another twist was coming. We should have saw coming, but I really thought that was gonna be the end where Victor, like this piece of shit, his like ultimate plan worked out. Now he's got Amy, but it was cool to have it, you know. Yeah, I agree. I really like you just said, I feel like I should have saw that twist coming. And
for sure.
For some reason, I just didn't, and then I really enjoyed it because I didn't.
Having said that, I will say the one twist I didn't see coming, and it's been so long since I've seen the other Hostel movies, so I don't remember if Travis has been in them. I don't want to say he has, but maybe he has. But that first twist at the very beginning of the movie didn't end because we kind of briefly talked about it, but the way they set it up, they make it look like, you know, like he's this innocent, you know, white guy. So that I'm glad that there was some, like, if you could call them twists, things that happen that subvert your expectations, because that one did.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, and it was such a good way of just opening the movie because it sets the tone if you really think about it. Like,
it does.
You know, so I feel like that's what I mean. Like, I feel like I thought Travis and maybe Fleming were like from previous movies.
Yeah,
but I really couldn't tell. I really couldn't quote. Like, I just tried to look it up, and I think Travis. It looks like Travis was just exclusively in Hostel 3, so maybe it was.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
That's what
Like in the beginning credits, though, it says based on characters created by Eli Roth, and I was like,
right.
I mean,
they're probably just talking about the Elite Hunting Club, but either way.
Yeah. Either way,
So
I will say
this. Yeah. Okay. It's not, this isn't saying much. It's not the worst straight to DVD horror movie I've ever seen, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. It's kind of just there.
Agreed. I would say, like, you know, if you end up watching it, it's not going to do you any like wrong necessarily, but you really don't need to go out of your way to watch Hostel 3. If you're going out of your way, watch number 1 or number 2 for sure.
I'm definitely never probably going to watch this movie again unless it's like we're in the moment together and we're like, let's watch it. But like, I'm glad I did watch it just because I wanted to see, like, because who knows? Because it could have been really good. You know what I mean? But I was fully expecting like a subpar, unnecessary sequel, and that's what it was.
Yep, pretty much. And unfortunately, you know, taking a step away from the other Hostel movies, this one only featured like really like 1 or 2 kind of brutal scenes, I would say. And the other ones, like especially the first one, man, like I remember like multiple sequences of just like it was
jarring.
Oh, dude,
like,
yeah, jarring is a great word for it, man.
When they cut the guy's AC, like there's some shit in there that, like, that's one of those movies where I'll watch every now and then, but I can't watch it very often because I'm not a huge fan of like the torture porn.
Nah.
I like it for what it is. It's not my favorite genre, but for what Hostel was, that at the time, like that, there wasn't anything like it. Like it was. Yeah,
and by the time that this you know third movie came out, it felt like they were just, you know, like the magic was kind of gone in a way.
Of course.
So it wasn't like, and especially with, you know, Eli Roth's like, you know, lack of involvement, it just kind of like puts you at this point where you're just like, meh. Like you said, it's there. It's
like I will say this, like I'll give credit to Scott Spiegel for, like, you know, trying something different and maybe thinking that there was a little more life to this. But it's a shame that there was no Eli Roth involvement, and you can tell because it's just, you know, like I said, the Scott Spiegel, he had directed another straight-to-DVD movie that was like his wheelhouse. So I don't think that it ever had a real chance to be anything more than what it was.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, either way.
However, if it would have just been its own, like, movie in that genre, like if it would have been... You know what I mean? If it didn't have the Hostel 3 name attached, it could have been better than it was. Like if it was just its own creation, you know what I mean?
I agree because with especially being the third movie in the series, there's certain expectation of it.
Yeah, of course.
And it definitely doesn't like live up to that expectation.
No, not at all.
So, you know, that was like kind of an anchor on the movie, I think. Yeah, that's a good observation. You know, just the Hostel name kind of it ended up working against it almost. Like,
for sure.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll sign off for the hot dogs this time. But you know, we got another week ahead of us. We got another movie coming up. Yeah. And then we got the big reveal for number 20.
Yes, sir. And then next month's October. I think that it'd be cool to do a couple episodes, but then also maybe do one where we just talk about, maybe a couple episodes where we just talk about horror, like maybe like our favorite movies or like our guilty pleasures or what got us into horror. Just like not necessarily dissect a movie, but just talk about horror in general.
Definitely. I think that will be on the, I say that's on the agenda for this upcoming month. And yeah, like you mentioned, I think we should, I want to try and strive for doing a couple extras for the hot dogs, but maybe we can talk about, like, we can mention, we'll do a couple of frivolous ones like we always do. We'll talk, we got a lot of horror coming up for this month. That's what we'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. October's knocking at the door.
Yeah, it is.
Oh man. All right. Well, in the meantime, folks, if you know somebody who enjoys Halloween, tell them to listen to this podcast. All right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, go out there and do something with your fucking lives, hot dogs.
Yes.
And keep listening.
Yes.